There are two critical types of stories that you must include in your nonfiction book if you're using it to build trust with your readers, credibility with your readers, and ultimately to grow your business based on the content in your book. Because I'm going to keep it really simple for you. Writing a book is about helping a person get a specific result. The more specific the result, the more tangible it is for the reader to understand what they can expect in your book. For example, if you look at Atomic Habits, it is about building good habits and breaking bad ones. There is no question mark around what the book is. And in that book, should you be able to read it and implement what James Clear teaches, you will be able to do the promise that he makes. If you look at the book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and you read that book, great book, by the way, you will be able to fulfill the result of making more money. And the author, Ramit, does an incredible job throughout his book. So let me walk through the different types of stories that you need to include in your book so that your reader can get the result. Now, this might be a hard truth, but it needs to be said. You want to write a book for your internal reasons, which is often to help somebody. It's to create a legacy. It's to tell your family's story. It's to make a difference. It's to make an impact. That's one of the reasons why you are writing this book, right? But the hard truth is, more likely than not, there's another reason. And that reason is your external reason. That's the growing the business, more credibility, more clients, lead generation, speaking engagements, PR tours, podcast opportunities, and so much more. Okay. And so when you write your book, if you don't include these types of stories, you're going to miss out on opportunities to connect with your reader. You're going to miss out on opportunities to build that relationship so that your reader is ready to take the next step, so that your reader actually sees results from your book and gets excited about, oh my gosh, if I got results from their book, imagine what I could get if I invest with them or hire them or bring them to speak to my event. So let's talk about these different things, okay? You write a book because you want to, you write a book because of the impact, you write a book because of what it can do for you, all right? So the two types of stories are this. The first one, you need to have your story, okay? Now, it does not have to be everything that you've ever experienced in your entire life. That's not what you need to have in your book. What you need to have in your book is the parts of your story that are relevant for the reader to understand so that they can get the result you did. So the way you're going to break down various different stories is you're going to want to talk about who or where you were before. Then you're going to want to talk about the transformation and now the results. So let's break these down. When you tell a story in your book that's about you, well, who were you before or where were you before? What did you struggle with? All right, we want to show people that even though we're the expert, we still experience them, that we are still human. We're not just automatically the best at this particular area, but we figured it out, okay? The next part is you want to talk about the transformation. How did you go from where you are to where you're at now? What did you do? What were the action steps? What was the tangible stuff? What are the things that you're actually going to teach somebody that you did to help you get to where you were? And then the results. Who and where are you today? How has your life changed because you've done the things you're teaching in your book? Because you shared the story. And when you share these stories, it can help these readers feel more connected to you. It can help them understand you. It can help them see your coaching style. It can help them understand that you are just like them. You're just a few steps ahead of them. So when I wrote my book, I talked about how I struggled with knowing where to begin and what to do because I'd never written a book and it bothered me. It stressed me out. I struggled with it. And then I talked about what did I do, how I figured it out, and now how I can do it even faster. Okay, I share stories about when I got ready to launch the book, I was scared no one was ever going to buy it. And I got over that through conversations, and I tell that story in the book. And then it ended up leading to 4 best-selling books before 30. So I went from I'm scared to 4 best-selling books by 30. But I share my story, and people can see that I went through the same things that you're probably going through right now if you're interested in writing a book. So that's the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you have stories in your book. But you want to also make sure that you're not sharing everything that's ever happened to you. Only share the stories or the parts of the stories that are relevant to help the reader get the result you want them to get. Okay? So if there's a story about me writing my 3rd book, but it has nothing to do with helping someone else write a book, then that story may not be relevant in my book, Big Idea to Bestseller. And so I didn't include that. It might be a great story to tell on a podcast or with a friend, or when I have more time to elaborate on something. But in my book, I want to focus on what are the stories, what are the pieces of the stories that are relevant for the reader so that they can maximize their time, maximize their learning, and maximize their result. Now, the second type of stories that you want to include in your book are success stories. All right, these are stories that are people who have done what you've done and gotten great results as well. Why is this so important? Well, this is so important because then people see that it's not just you, that it can work for them. Okay, and so when you talk about this, there's a few types of success stories that you can include. One type of success story is exactly as it sounds, the success stories of people that you've tangibly helped. Okay, so in my book, Big Idea to Bestseller, I tell stories of people that I've helped write books and their results. Why? Because it shows that not only does the process work for me, but it works for others. These type of success stories are really, really powerful because it builds trust with the reader. It builds credibility that you actually know your shit and that you can actually get results for someone other than yourself. Because sometimes people are great at doing something for themselves, but they're not great at teaching others how to do it. That's an art, that's a skill set. Okay, there are great writers out there, but there are not always, every great writer is not always great at teaching someone else how to create a book. This is a really, really important thing. And so you want to show that you've had other people do your work and do what you've done to get results that are as good or better than the results you've gotten by doing the thing you teach. And what's also really, really great about this is when you feature people as success stories in your book, what often happens is people get excited. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you wanted to feature me in my book. This is amazing. So what do? Well, they feel honored. They feel excited. So they start promoting your book for you. So they start telling everybody about you, like, I'm featured in this book. I'm featured in this book. They appreciate you featuring them. So they become a big fan, a lifetime fan. Their word of mouth, their referrals, they're featuring you. And that's a huge way to get more and more promotions. If you tell 10 stories in your book, that's 10 people. That's 10 people who are going to promote your book for you because they're featured in it in a positive light. The other type of success story, and this can be good for two reasons. One, if you maybe are newer and you're using this book to really jumpstart your business, you've gotten the results, you know you can teach people, but you haven't taught a crazy amount of people or had a ton of success stories, your transformation is good enough. I want you to know that your transformation is good enough, okay? But sometimes it's great to pull in outside inspiration. So if I'm talking about how to build great habits, maybe better than telling the story of someone who built great habits, I would share a story from Atomic Habits, tapping into the world's foremost expert on habits, tap into James Clear's knowledge, cite him properly, give him the credit, but use that to further enhance my point, to build that credibility. Okay, so this is called outside inspiration stories. And these often further validate your point. It enhances your relatability. It can often connect. And also, you can also connect with these other people who you're mentioning, and they may become partners. They may be appreciated that you featured in their book. There's a whole lot of things that can happen by doing this. So these are the two types of stories that you want to include in your book. You want to include your personal story, all right, and you want to include your success stories. When you combine the two, it really creates for a great reader experience. It allows them to do the one thing they wanted to when they picked up your book, get the result. And if they like it and they get the result by reading your book, and they like your style because they know your story, they are more likely to want to work with you to be able to get the results that you've promised at a more intimate and deeper level. So if you really like this and you like learning all about this stuff, I want to give you a free copy of my book, Big Idea to Bestseller. All right, and in this book, it has the exact roadmap on how to go from big idea all the way to bestseller. It's our process that will take you every step of the way from outlining your book to writing it, to editing, to format, to publishing, and to launching as a bestseller. So if you want to get a free copy of this book, text the word free to 661-669-7363. Again, text the word free to 661-669-7363. And there you have it.